got to see Tron 2 days ago, so here's my very early review. Going in, my expectations were honestly pretty high. I've always loved both the previous Tron movies. The original is such an awesome, inventive 80s sci-fi gem, and Tron Legacy is a movie I didn't fully appreciate when I saw it back in 2014, but I've grown to absolutely love it. It's one of the best looking movies ever made, a complete visual and musical experience that was way ahead of its time. So walking into Ares, I was really hoping it would continue that level of quality and feel like a worthy follow-up. I wanted it to be something truly special. Unfortunately, it wasn't. I was massively disappointed with Tron Ares. It's not terrible, and it definitely has some great elements, but overall, it's such a shockingly mediocre film that it left me deflated. For a series that's known for being groundbreaking and innovative, this felt weirdly safe and uninspired. It had all the right pieces, a cool story setup, a striking look, a killer soundtrack, but none of it ever came together into something memorable. I didn't hate it, but for how much potential this franchise has, it's such a letdown. The story picks up years after Legacy and follows Ares, an AI program created by the human world to bridge the gap between artificial and real life. Played by Jared Leto, Ares embarks on a mission that challenges both his programming and his understanding of humanity when he's pulled into the real world. It's a story about identity, creation, and what it means to be human. On paper, that's an amazing direction. The idea of a digital being trying to live among humans has so much potential for emotion and depth, but sadly, the execution doesn't reach the heights it aims for. That said, there are definitely things I absolutely love about Tron Ares. Visually, this movie is downright immaculate. Every frame feels like it was handcrafted with care, and there are shots here that are genuinely some of the most dazzling, hypnotic, and breathtaking visuals I've seen in years. That level of precision in the digital world design is jaw-dropping, from the sleek architecture to the glowing circuits that line the environment. Everything pops with life and atmosphere. The decision to go with a red dominant color palette as opposed to the classic blue glow of Tron Legacy was a bold but smart move. It gives this film its own identity, separating it from its predecessor while still feeling like a natural evolution of the world. The contrast of deep reds against the dark digital void makes for an incredibly cinematic experience that feels both eerie and mesmerizing. The light traits, the motorbike chases, and the futuristic cityscape are nothing short of stunning. Every action sequence feels like a moving piece of digital art, fluid, intense, and perfectly edited. There's a rhythm to how the action unfolds that really pulls you in. It's fast-paced but never confusing, and the camera always knows when to hold on a moment of beauty or chaos. When those light cycles blaze through the city, or when discs clash mid-air, it's pure visual bliss. You can tell that a lot of care went into making every scene feel dynamic, and even if the story didn't always hit as hard, the action absolutely delivered. Sound design and score by Nine Inch Nails are absolutely incredible, and honestly might be the best part of the entire film. Their music brings an emotional and haunting edge to the world of Tron that feels both mechanical and human at the same time. The soundtrack pulses through every scene, giving weight and texture to the visuals in a way that few modern scores manage to do. It's electronic, moody, and deeply immersive. When paired with the sound design, the hum of the neon, the crackle of the energy discs, the thundering engines, it all becomes an overwhelmingly sensory experience. And I'll give credit where it's due. Just being back in this world after all these years was awesome. The Tron universe has always been one of my favorite sci-fi settings ever, and Ares reminded me why. Even when the movie stumbled narratively, I still loved spending time inside this world again. The aesthetic, the sounds, the atmosphere, it's unlike anything else out there. Whether or not Ares lives up to a legacy or the original depends on what kind of story you wanted, but as a cinematic experience, it's hard not to get lost in the grid all over again. Now for the big issues, and there are quite a few. The story and characters are easily the weakest parts. The narrative feels thin, predictable, and painfully formulaic. Characters lack depth. Some characters are rushed, and emotional moments don't land the way they should. It's a shame because the Tron world is capable of so much more than just surface-level sci-fi ideas. The dialogue is another major problem. Clunky, awkward, and overly expositionary. Too often, characters stop to explain rules or tech jargon instead of letting the world naturally unfold. It kills the pacing and makes scenes feel artificial. I also think the film relies too heavily on spectacle. As gorgeous as the visuals are, they can't hide the fact that there isn't much emotional weight underneath. You can tell the movie's trying to juggle action, philosophical ideas, and big blockbuster energy, but it never commits to any of them fully. Some action scenes are incredible, but others are messy or incoherent, and tonally it just can't find balance. Jared Leto's performance as Ares is fun, I didn't hate it, but is emotionally flat and just feels miscast. The supporting cast does what they can, but they're working with weak material. The most frustrating aspects for me is how Ares leans so much on nostalgia. Instead of pushing the franchise forward with bold ideas, it keeps trying to remind us of the past. There are visual callbacks, musical nods, and thematic echoes, but they end up feeling derivative rather than inspired. I wanted Ares to innovate the same way the first two Tron films did, to blow my mind again. Instead, it plays it safe, and that's what hurts most. So overall, Tron Ares is a film with some truly breathtaking moments and technical brilliance, but it never quite becomes the visionary sequel it should have been. I think casual audiences and hardcore Tron fans might still find things to enjoy, but as a longtime fan of the franchise, this was one of my biggest disappointments of the year. It's not a bad movie, just a heartbreakingly average one. 5 out of 10. What did you think of Tron Ares? Did it live up to your expectations, or were you left underwhelmed like me? Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially from other Tron fans who waited this long for a new chapter. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next review.